I'll let them know.
All right, and if there's nothing else that I can assist you with today, again, my name is Charlotte. You
Hey, Jess.
Hi, sorry, I was on the phone with my bank because unfortunately I was closing an order with Scentsy today, and out of nowhere it said, you know how like it'll say like unauthorized payment, so you delete it out and you start over again. Well, it charged me twice because I did that, and it never done that before. So I got I had just amount of money that the customer paid me cash in that bank account, so I got overdrawn. And so I'm like calling the bank to let them know they're going to be depositing it, and I was on the phone forever. So like I literally just got off the phone right now. Perfect timing. Okay. Hi, everyone. Sorry that you had to hear my little spiel and situation that happened today with Scentsy. But fortunately enough, that doesn't happen often, thank goodness, and they're taking care of it. But today is March 18th, and we are, as I mentioned last month, we're going to just touch base on a Scentsy standard last week. Every week, just something just to kind of slowly address the standards, just so we have an idea of how important it is for us to you know, have our standards printed out and you know, be able to refer to them if we need them and have a general idea. It is 40-something pages, so I don't expect anybody, even myself, to memorize all that spiel. But it is good just to familiarize yourself, so when something happens, you can kind of go, I think I know what this is about, and you can refer back to it. So last week we were talking about, oh gosh, we started to, why did I not write down my notes? Let's test. Let's see who remembers. Cindy and Michelle were on. So you learn something every day. This was new to me. I'm like, well, Jess, maybe you should write down what Scentsy standards that you talked about. Does anybody remember what standard we talked about last week? Michelle, no? You don't remember?
I'm in my car, so I don't have any notes.
Oh, okay. What about you, Cindy? Are you there? Do you remember?
I'm going to go run upstairs.
We can't hear you, Cindy. Can anybody hear me? She's not responding.
Yeah, she's muted.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I hear you.
Oh,
there you go.
So we talked about the consultant's right, and they have the right to not sponsor anybody. We went over the agreement.
I know you're a great note taker, Cindy. That's why I knew I could count on you.
To call support with any questions, that's what they're there for. To answer your questions for you. We talked about being compliant and about receiving the emails from compliance and replying within the time frame that they want you to reply.
Yes.
And sorry about the dogs. And violations, 3 violations or more, you could be suspended or canceled.
Okay. Awesome. So thank you, Cindy. I love it. So what I just learned is I need to make sure I write down what we cover. I thought I would like look at it and be like, oh yeah, I know what we did, but that's not the case. Just don't remember that much detail. So, all right. So moving on, we'll go to section 2 and account maintenance. So address, email, telephone is so important to make sure that they're accurate and we update it. A lot of people I have seen tons of people get their stuff sent to their old house, and they call me saying, my shipment got sent to my old house, I moved. And I'm like, well, if you don't change your account, your address, I don't know what to tell you. So just if, as far as the sponsors, we don't know unless we're really close with a team member and we like talk to them on a regular basis and they're like, they're moving tomorrow or they're moving this week. Like, I know Lauren Clift moved last week, so, but I already know that she would do that, but not everybody would know too. So if you're a sponsor and you're close with one of your team members, you know they're moving, whatever, just kind of say, hey, just make sure you update your accounts, your account information. Legal name is so important in your, to change it if you get married, if you get divorced, unfortunately, whatever, make sure that the accounts are updated through account services if, and it makes sure it matches your social security card. So, then we go on to business entities. A lot of people have no idea what that is. I sure still, I don't have that in my business, so I'm not an expert on it. But I do say a lot of people come to me saying, oh, so I want to, let me see an example of a business. So it says formation or breakup of business entities. So a lot of people come to me and say, oh, my sister and I want to join Scentsy, but she doesn't want to join. We just want to do it together. And then she'll be a business entity. So basically, like a joined account. Hold on, I see some chats going on. Can't go on. Oh, sorry. Okay, so I don't recommend a business entity. The only time you recommend that is if, seriously, if you have, I mean, after you've already had a very serious business built, and let's use our upline, Callie Petticourt and Becca Levi. They have a business entity. They are joined. She has, so she's able to do everything she can in the account. She can go on trips in place of Becca, things like that. So they're like together. But honestly, and they're mother and daughter, that's another thing. But business entities, you don't want to like do that with like a friend. I mean, when you think about it, if you've ever heard of like somebody that owned a business and they partnered with somebody and then it went bad because they were stealing or whatever, that can happen in our business. One person's working the business, sponsoring, selling, doing parties, and the other person just hanging out and getting a paycheck. You know, that happens a lot. So instead, I would encourage you to encourage whoever's wanting to do that to just, you know what, do the business together. One join, the other one join underneath, and you guys can be partners and, you know, be a Scentsy family. That's my recommendation. If they, obviously it's their business, if they totally and completely, you know, and want to do that, then that's their deal. They'll have to go through account services that way. Sponsorship. I think we touched on this last week, like Cindy said, but we didn't talk about this part of sponsorship. So you can't change your sponsor. So somebody came to me recently and said, can I cancel and join under somebody else in my area? So the answer is no, they can't just cancel and then just join, but there is a way to get a new sponsor. They would have to wait. If they involuntarily cancel, then they have to wait a full 6 months. If they wait it out and wait 4 months to cancel, they would only have to wait another 2 months to reinstate because it's only a full 6 months. That has been something that's been a little confusing since we've been the 4 month change. They thought, like, do they have to wait an extra month? No, it's a full 6 months of no activity. So whether they're a consultant with not placing orders for 4, and then an additional 2 months after they've canceled, they can reinstate under somebody else. So, but I will encourage you guys to ask the person, why are they wanting to do that? what's going on in the relationship, or is there something that they feel like they're not getting from their sponsor? Because it may just be a miscommunication. They may not be communicating to their sponsor, so therefore the sponsor doesn't know what that person needs. So as their upline, if you are their upline, I would encourage the communication. I would encourage to let them know that you're there for them, that it doesn't have to be just the sponsor, because believe me, I hate to say this, but it is the truth. I am not BFFs with all my frontline. You know, some people I don't really talk to because they don't want me to talk to them. And I have to be okay with that. And they reach out to other people because they have a connection with other people, which is fine. And we just want the consultant to have a resource to go to for some support. They can buy the reinstatement kit, but it's not required. Yes, that's true. Otherwise, it's free to reinstate. Yes, thank you for that information. They have 30 days to purchase the kit from when they reinstate. And I would encourage it, but it's not required. But they're not going to have any. They're not going to have any updated materials, if that makes sense. When somebody's canceling, if you have a relationship and you can go back and forth communicating, I would encourage them to save their stuff. Because a lot of people say like, no, I'm done. And then 3 months later, oh, I miss Scentsy. And then I just threw all my testers out. Or I just threw all my order forms out. And I'm like, I told you. So, but again, that's a tool that we didn't have before. We weren't able to tell people like, hey, you can buy a reinstatement kit. So it's just making things get better and better and easier and easier. Let's see, we will go. I'm just going to kind of skim until we get to sale or transfer. So you can transfer your business. I hope everybody gets to the point that you have this raging business that if you ever decided to retire Scentsy or whatever, that you have this amazing business to transfer to somebody. If you're married, they are legally a part of your business. So say you got divorced, your spouse can legally sue you in the divorce for your business because they're legally binded in that business. So, just be aware of that. And if the spouse wants nothing to do with it, you can transfer it to somebody in your downline or, I don't know, a friend, whatever. So that is available. I'm not going to get too much into that. That's a lot of detail. But the one thing I want to emphasize to make sure everybody understands, this is the only business that you can literally build a legacy for your family. You could literally pass your business on to your children, work it now, and then like Allie, she is fully aware and excited that she's going to have a business to work while she's in college because she's going to be working the business either with me or for me. I don't know where in 8 years where I'm going to be in a mindset if I don't want to do this anymore. But and that's what Callie is to Becca. She's a business entity now, but when hopefully a long time from now, when Becca is no longer here on earth, she will it will be Callie's business. So which is amazing. Passing of consultants, your account will be suspended until we receive benefactor information. So if you're not legally married, you're going to have to make sure you think about a beneficiary. So for instance, Superstar Director Kay Diggins, she's been with the company well over 10 years, great organization. That's something they had to think about. Her husband had to decide, does he want the business? Those are things you want to think about when your business starts to boom. And then there's even you can assign an heir or a beneficiary. So those are things you want to think about. When my business is so amazing and something that somebody would be able to get value from of having that given to them, who would that person be? Tax ID changes may require a change fee. Scentsy will not divide volumes commissions on an account. Okay, so I just encourage you guys to read the details. I'm not going to get more into that because we have an amazing speaker and I don't want to take any more time. I just want to touch base the first 15 minutes about standards every Monday because I can almost guarantee that there is more people out there that hasn't read the standards than did. So, and let me tell you, in 8 years, I've probably read this thing twice in like its entirety. That's not a good deal. I just touch base when I need to. It's here. It's my little Scentsy Bible, and I update it when they update it. So I hope you all do it as well. So without further ado, I'm so excited. I have my pen and paper. I already was drilling her today because I was so privileged to be able to have lunch with her because she's in my town and we are neighbors, which is awesome. But our very own Michelle Brooks that everybody sees, she's always in top sales. Her business is always growing. Her team loves her. We love her. And she has been so consistent since the second she started. And she definitely didn't think that was going to happen. So I think she surprised herself when she had her business take off the way it did. And so I asked her to come on today to share her time with us, which I'm so grateful for, of all the ins and outs. And she has specific things she wants to share with us that she feels will be beneficial to us. So I'm going to mute my big mouth and let Michelle take over.
Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you, Jess, so much. So I just want to talk a little tiny bit about, not for necessarily the people that are on live, because I've met everybody and you kind of know a little bit about my story. But so when I joined, like Jess said, I had no idea that it was going to turn into anything close to what it is. First of all, Michelle Cohen, your hair looks really pretty. So I just wanted to tell you that when your face was in there, it looks so pretty. Anyway, so I joined just really for friendship. I was a stay-at-home mom. I missed the connection that I had with my teacher friends, and Jess mentioned reunion, and I'm like, I'm all about that. So that's really why I joined. And I almost quit immediately. I think I've told everybody that because I didn't know anybody, and I was like, I wasted my money and all these things that we all tell ourselves right when we first start or even before we start. And I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to make my money back and, see what happens. So I had no idea what it would turn into for sure. In my first year, I promoted to director super fast. I earned top 100. I'm number 52, actually. I'm pretty proud of that because I worked really hard for that. And my first 2 years, I was able to earn annual sales. I'm super close to earning it for my third year in a row. So that's what I'm currently working towards. But so what I really wanted to share with you guys tonight is not just how I've been able to do that, but more some of my struggles that I've had, because I think a lot of times what am I trying to say? A lot of times we put focus on successes and we don't necessarily know what's going on behind the scenes. So my team knows a lot of some of my mindset struggles because I share that with them. But I wanted to share that with you guys tonight. And I might cry. I'm already starting to get teared up because I'm going to be really vulnerable with you guys. But share with you some of my struggles and also share with you how I've been able to overcome some of those things to see so that you can see and I can see what you see on the outside. But one of the things that you don't see on the inside is that I struggle almost daily with depression. I struggle almost daily with my worthiness, with like self-esteem, all the things that I think a lot of women we struggle with. I struggle with a lot of those same things. And in my business, that struggle really, really started in March 2017. And I know that I shared this with Jess a lot because she's the one that kind of talked me through some of this stuff. But so in March 2017, a big thing happened. And as you guys know, I promoted to director super fast. I have an amazing, amazing team of just, women that really wanted it for our team. And they worked really hard. And we hit director, and it was super exciting. But in March of 2017, I went into director Q. And I'm not going to go into the compensation plan or anything, but what director Q is if you don't hit your director numbers for 3 consecutive months after promoting, you go into the Q. And Q is actually like pretty much like director probation, essentially. And then you have another 3 months to hit those numbers again. And then if you don't, then you actually lose your title of director and you go down to superstar consultant. So in March of 2017, I was in the queue. And what a great idea. I'm going to go to a retreat and I'm going to learn all the things about how to get out of the queue and how to show, how to share with my team and do all these things. But what I started to do in that month is I started to play the comparison game. And I was at this retreat with amazing superstar directors and people with like 1,200 people on their team and 800 people on their team and, all the things. And I left that retreat so deflated and I felt so small that I didn't even know how to function. So in May of 2017, I actually lost my title. And that was really humbling for me. Because, I promoted super fast. And so it was really humbling for me when I lost my title, and I took it very hard. I took it very personally. And what I didn't realize is that I still had this amazing team, because I was so in this mindset, like, poor me, woe is me, it happened to me. But it didn't just happen to me. There was so many things that went into this, and I was just so distraught. And I was having a hard time moving past it. And in July at reunion, I went and I felt very lonely. Have you guys ever been in a room of 5,000 people and felt completely alone? That's what I felt like at reunion of 2017. And I was just in a place of, I just felt alone. I felt, I have these amazing, amazing friends. I have Jess, I have all these people, but I felt completely alone. And I went to reunion and I was like, now what? So at reunion, I took some time, a lot of time away from the crowds, and I started to reevaluate things. And I started to really look at what it was that I wanted out of Scentsy and what it was that I wanted out of my business. And what I realized was that I needed to stop trying to control the things that I didn't have control of and start controlling the things that I did. So the things that I didn't have control of, you don't have control of if it's going to rain. You have these plans and it rains and it ruins your plans. So now what? You don't have control of how many people are joining your team. You have control of how many people you're talking to. You have control of how many people you're asking, but you don't have control of how many people are saying yes. There's just so many things that I realized that I didn't have control of, and I stopped trying to own those things and started taking responsibility for myself and the things that I needed to do. And then in January of 2018, my grandma passed away. And this was really hard for me because she was like my person that every time I would talk to her, she would tell me I was her favorite. And she probably told my sister the same thing, but she told it to me. And when the person that tells you that you're their favorite is no longer there anymore, you start to spin out of control. And so my business you wouldn't be able to see it from my numbers because my numbers were still there, but my business kind of took a back seat because I was trying to process my feelings about my grandma. And instead of getting up and working my business, I would get up, take my kids to school, go home, and go back to bed. And I did that for a while, at least what I thought. And Jess and I talked a little bit about this today, is that you get, and I'm going to share with you guys how exactly I got out of this, but you get on automatic pilot because you're so used to doing certain things, and you don't even realize until you take a step back and realize what you're doing that is actually moving your business forward. So after my grandma passed away, you know, that was a really, really hard thing for me. But I made it through, and here I am. You know, and in 2018 or December 2018, I hit a big, what's it called? A burnout. Like, I was burnt out, and I was trying to figure out how it was that, because I'm doing all these things, and I promise with you guys, I have a point to all of this. So in December, I was burnt out, and I turned Scentsy off for 2 weeks. Like, I didn't talk Scentsy, I didn't breathe Scentsy, I didn't do anything Scentsy for 2 weeks, and it was just what I needed, because that was the time that I realized what I'm going to share with you guys tonight of all the things that I have been doing in order to make it through all of my mindset struggles. Okay, so Jess called the title of this, "The Fortune is in the Follow-Up." And I know, especially if you're on my team, that's my favorite thing to do, is follow-up. It's my favorite thing to talk about. It's my favorite thing to do, because I really feel like that has been the cornerstone of my entire business, is following up. So the first thing is I wanted to talk about, let me back up. Okay, so knowing when I was going through all of this, I was still doing all these things that I'm talking about. And I didn't realize I was doing all these until I took that break and started reevaluating what it was that I was actually doing. Okay. And one of the things that I can tell you that I have learned about myself is that follow-up for me is not about, and has not ever been about, selling. It has never been about booking parties. It has never been about having people join my team. It has been 100% about building relationships. And that is my goal. My goal through follow-up is strictly building relationships. And I think one of the reasons why a lot of us get hung up with follow-up is because they are looking at it from a different angle. Maybe you are one of those people that don't like to follow up because you don't want to bug people. Maybe you're one of those people that don't like to follow up because you're afraid that somebody will say no, they don't need your product anymore. Whatever the reason is, I go about it a little bit differently, and that is strictly building relationships. Okay, so the things that I'm going to share with you come from that angle, building relationships. And also, another thing that you may not know about me is I'm a huge, major procrastinator. And if I can put it off until tomorrow, I do. But whatever reason, I don't put off. I mean, I know why. I'm going to share that with you. I don't put off follow-up. And I think one of the reasons why I don't put off follow-up is because that's, like I said, it's the cornerstone of my business, and that's where I've been able to see the most results. And so anyway, so I have some tips for you that I would like to share. And if you have questions, please, I have lots of notes, but please ask me because I'm more than willing to share however I can, okay? So the number one thing that I can say is that you have to have a set time to follow up, okay? And whatever that time is, whether it's, and when I say set time, I mean like time during your day, time during your week, time during your month. If you, for me, I place an order every single Sunday, okay? And I try to place an order on Sunday. My customers know I place orders on Sunday. I tell them in my follow-up when they want to place an order, that order is going in on Sunday, and they've come to expect that because that's when I do it. So have a set time that you're going to follow up with them. And here's the thing. If that time isn't working for you, like say you get home and your time is 5 o'clock. I'm going to follow up with everybody at 5 o'clock. Okay. If you get home and you're too tired to follow up, change your time. like that time isn't working for you. Okay. Maybe your time's better spent on your lunch hour following up. If that isn't your love language, if you find at lunch, at your lunch hour, you're procrastinating that, then find another time. But the key to not procrastinating that is to find the time that's going to work for you. Okay. Jess and I were talking about this earlier today. If you set aside time to go to the gym and you have to drive a half an hour to go to the gym, you're not going to go to the gym. If you set aside the time and you're out and about, you're more apt to go to the gym. Okay. Does that make sense? So it's the same thing with your follow-up. Set a time and you're going to be more apt to follow up. Another example is I have always intended to start a journal. Okay. Journals are statistically good for you. They get your thoughts out. They help you think through your day, all these things. And I would think, because I heard you should journal at night before you go to bed and brain dump and do all this thing before you go to bed. But you know what? Before bed, I'm tired. And so I never got around to it. I never journaled. I always wanted to journal, but I never did. But what I started to do is I started to write in my journal at 5 o'clock in the morning. And guess what? I do it every single day because I have finally found the time that works for me. So that's my number one tip. Set aside time and find the time that works for you. Okay. Number 2, start some sort of a system. I know we've all heard this system. Okay. We have Maven. Whether your system is 2 weeks, 2 days, 2 weeks, 2 months, 1 week, 1 month, 3 months, whatever your system is, find a system that works for you. There are some people that have their follow-up system is that sample mailing thing. Okay. It's really cool. It sounds so amazing. You make these postcards, you put samples, and all you do is you mail them out once a month. And if they order, then they keep getting samples. But if they don't order after 3 months, then they stop getting samples, right? That sounds dreamy, doesn't it? Like you don't have to text anybody. You don't have to do anything. All you do have to mail them samples and they come to you. But for me, I hate going to the mailbox. I forget to buy stamps. I forget to order postcards. I forget to do all these things. So that system wouldn't work for me because it doesn't work for me. So I use Maven. And I also use the 113 system, and I still use my binder system that helps me track it. Maven has been really helpful because it's reaching me way, way, way back to 3 years ago. People that bought from me 3 years ago that I haven't, that I have followed up, but maybe I haven't touched base with them in a while. It's kind of reminding me that they're still there. So Maven, and you know what? Honestly, I actually canceled my Maven last month. I was like, I don't need Maven. I'm not going to use it anymore. So I canceled it. And about 2 weeks later, I got it back because I was like, no, I really do use it. So that for me has been really helpful. So find a system that works for you. And, I know you guys have heard this before. The system that works for you is the system that you're going to use. So if you're not going to use it, it's not working for you, right? Okay. I've already said this, but going back, another thing that I have used with following up that has been really successful is a Google Doc. If you're part of that aha moment group that last week they did the fresh start in that group, and I'll try to find the recording and post it on our team page or on our group rather. There is a training by Jacqueline Roy. She's a superstar director from Oklahoma. She did this training on Google Docs, and it's like 4 questions. Like, are you still, do you want me to still follow up with you as one of them? Or do you know we have fundraisers? Anyway, there's like 4 or 5 questions. And she started emailing this out to her people, and she was getting great results. So I started to do that too last year. And I booked a couple parties, and I got 2 team members from that Google Doc system. So if you haven't seen that training, I highly suggest going back into that aha moments. Look up Jacqueline Roy, and it was done last year. It's still in that group. But that was one of the things that worked for me. And so maybe that could work for you too. But anyway, so that was like find a system. That was a good system that worked for me last year. I tried it this year. It didn't have the same success. But you know, it's all about experimenting to see what works for you. My next tip is get over the mindset that you are bugging people. Okay. You have to get over that mindset. All right. The number one thing that I can say with that is, you know who bugs people? When the politicians call. Okay. When the realtors call to say, hey, do you want to sell your house? The recordings, all of those things, that's who's bugging people. Okay. You are not bugging people. You are offering them a service. All right. Get into the mindset. They've bought from you once. They are interested in Scentsy because they've bought Scentsy. All you're doing is touching base with them to make sure that number one, they're loving their products. Number two, they're using their products. And number three, if they need any products, you are there solely to help them. If you think that you're bugging your people, if you are, if you're like, oh, I don't want to bug them. If you think that you're bugging them, it's because you're making it about you. Okay. If you think that you're bugging them because you like, I don't want to ask them if they want to buy anything, then don't ask them if they want to buy something. Check in to say hi. They know that you sell Scentsy, all right? Just check in to say hi. But if you think that you're bugging them, you are so far off base. I can't even tell you how many times I get thanks for checking in. I get, no, I don't need anything right now. Check with me back in a couple of months. All right. You are not bugging them. They bought from you once. They love your product. And I promise you, in all of the people that I have followed up with, and I will tell you in my Maven, I have just over 700 contacts. Okay. Out of those 700 contacts, 3 people have asked me to stop following up with them. Okay. 3, that's it. And one person wasn't very nice. I deleted her. I got over it really fast because I was like, cool. 2 other people, I will tell you, out of those 2 other people, I actually did follow up with one of those 2 people because she told me maybe 2 years ago that she didn't want me to follow up with her. So I checked in with her over the weekend. And I'm like, hey, I just wanted to check in with you. I know that it's been a while since we touched base. We just had a new catalog release. I thought you may be interested. And you know what? She said, hey, send me a new catalog. So did she not want me to follow up with her? Maybe not at that time. But so she allowed me to reconnect with her. And then the other person, I touched base with her. She said, no, my niece sells Scentsy. So I was like, cool. So then a year later, I reached back out to her and I'm like, hey, I just wanted to check in and see how your niece is doing on her Scentsy business. And she said, actually, my niece doesn't sell Scentsy anymore, but my daughter does. So I'm like, cool. Well, good luck to your daughter in her Scentsy business. I'll check back with you in a little bit just to make sure that everything's going well. So she didn't need me to follow up with her because she already had a consultant. I'm not trying to solicit her business. I genuinely want to know how her daughter's doing, how her niece's business is doing. And because I'm asking her questions about that, she was like, sure, okay, cool. Maybe I'll talk to you. And you know what? Here's the other thing. She still subscribes to my newsletter and checks it every month. Just saying. Okay. So you just never know. Okay. What is it? Let me see. Oh, here's the thing about like trying to make something work for you. This is one of the things that I started doing, and it's kind of helped me. I kind of make a game of following up, and maybe like making a game of it can work for you. I find that making games, even with your kids, trying to clean up, like trying to figure out how to make it fun for them. They're more apt to do it if they don't really feel like they're cleaning up. So I make a game of follow-up for me. And for me, I started out figuring out how many people I had to message in order to get one person to message me back. Okay. And I found out that for me, it's for every 10 people I message, I get one person to message me back. Okay. So what does that mean? That means if I'm trying to get a qualified party, then I need to message 50 people, because on average, you get like made a $50 order, $30 to $50 order. So I know that I have to message X amount of people in order to get a qualified party through follow-up. So, and each time I try to make that number less and less and less, and just kind of play a game with myself. And also try to see how many people I can message. I could like get my text message in before somebody finally responds. So I'm like, I'm getting pretty good. And I have made mistakes. I have forgotten to change people's names because I always like write people's names, and then I'll be like, hey, Cindy, and everybody's called Cindy for like 3 or 4 times. And I'm like, oops, I'm sorry. I was going too fast. It wasn't paying attention. I'm so sorry. So then I apologize, and whatever, it is what it is, because, you make mistakes. But that was one of the things that I started doing, was I tried to make it a game for myself, and started keeping stats. I could figure out for myself what was working. And I also figured out for every 20 people I asked to host a party, it's usually that 21st person that says yes. And I've also figured out for every 50 people I ask about joining, I usually have about 1. So that's just kind of my stats. What I've been able to figure out with playing this little game with myself. So if you're a competitive person and you like games, maybe turn your follow-up into some sort of a game with yourself. Or, maybe you have an accountability partner or a friend, and maybe you guys play a game with each other. See who can get a message back first, or whatever. That could be something that you could do as well. One of the most important things that I could say with my mindset with following up is I do not own the outcome of my follow-up. I own the outcome of my actions. I own my actions. I don't own the outcome. Okay? Because we only have control, like I said back in the beginning, what I learned going through the things that I learned about myself is that I don't have control of what my outcome is going to be. All right. I can't own what other people are going to do. And the reason why I don't own the outcome is because you never know what's going on. You never know if like they just don't need Scentsy, right? I just figure if they don't message me back, they don't need Scentsy right now. You don't know if they checked your message and then put their phone down and forgot to respond back to you. You don't know if they just had a death in the family. You don't know what is going on at any point in time. And so if you own the fact that they didn't respond back to you, then again, you're making it about yourself, because you're like, well, they must not like me. They must not like Scentsy. And you guys know that that's not the truth. You know that if they have Scentsy, they love Scentsy, and you also know that it's not about you. It's about them and what is going on with them. Okay. But if you think that it is about you, and if you think that, like if you're seeing that you're not getting any results, if you're seeing that you're messaging these people and nobody's responding back to you, then maybe it's the words that you're using. Maybe you're not having a call to action in your messages. Maybe you're not opening, asking an open-ended question. Like if you're messaging somebody, I try to say, if they usually when they order a 6-pack, they're ordering 6 different scents, right? So I will say, which one was your favorite? Or what did you think about coconut lemongrass? Or did you know, I noticed that you ordered 6 bars of coconut lemongrass. Did you know that we also have this, and this product in coconut lemongrass? Something like that, open-ended questions that they're more apt to see, oh, this chick is just trying to help me, right? So if you think that, they're not responding back to me, this is one of the big things I would suggest is maybe, and I've done this before, maybe ask a friend or me or Jess or, whoever your director is, ask them, say, this is what I'm messaging people. Would you respond back to me? So maybe you just need a second opinion. I've done that before. Like, I will tell you, last year I was having a booking blitz and I was messaging all these people about booking a party and nobody was saying yes. And so I messaged Lauren and I was like, Lauren, would you book a party with me if I asked it this year? And she's like, yeah, girl, I would. I was like, okay. And sure enough, I will tell you 2 people later, somebody booked a party. So I was like, okay, good. It's not me, but that is, if you feel like you're not getting the results, maybe look at what you're saying and how you're saying it and have somebody else kind of check it out. And maybe they could give you a tip or something. Another big tip that I could say is track your results. I have right here, this is my annual sales tracker. This is all I have left, 4,852 at the beginning of this month. And I have my little tracker here of everything that I have planned, and I'm tracking my results so that I know where I am, I know where I'm going, and this has been really important for me to be able to keep myself accountable, because we all kind of lose sight, I think, if we don't have that goal in mind at the end. Maybe your goal is 200, maybe your goal is 500, maybe your goal is 2,000. If you don't know where you're going, then you don't necessarily know how hard you have to push to get there. Okay, so I would say that is another thing, is track your results and have a goal. And you see, Susan, I have yet to do a booking blitz. Girl, you should do a booking blitz, because they're hard, but they're fun. Once you get that party, it makes you feel super accomplished. Let me see. Oh, here's another tip. If you're texting people, if you're calling people, if you're emailing people, if those are your follow-up and you find that you're calling people and they're not responding back to you, try texting them. If you're texting people and they're not responding back to you, try calling them. If you're texting people and they're not responding back to you, try emailing them. Like, maybe if you haven't asked them what the best way to get a hold of them is, maybe you're trying the wrong way. Maybe that's the reason why they're not responding to you, because they're not texters. I know, who knew that there's people in this world that aren't texters? I wouldn't, but there are people that aren't texters. And, a lot of times I'll get people, and I'm a texter, so I'll text them and it will come back, oh, this is a landline. I'm like, oh, I didn't realize people still use their landline. So, so then those are the people, oh, I have to call that person. So maybe if they're not responding back to you, maybe you just haven't found their communication love language. So ask them, what's the best way to get a hold of you? Okay. And then my last one, I'm sorry, I've been talking a lot, but my last one is, sometimes when you're checking in with people, just check in to say hi. Remember, I told you it was all about building relationships. It's not all about sales. It's not all about booking parties. It's not all about that. That's the end result. But ultimately, the biggest thing is building relationships. So reach out to them. And if you see something in the new catalog, say, hey, I totally just thought of you. I just wanted to say hi. Don't even say, like, I saw this warmer and I thought of you. And they're like, girl, I haven't talked to you in a year, and now you're trying to solicit business from me. Just say, hey, I just thought about you. I wanted to say hi because it reminded you of them. And then you start to have this conversation, and then you say, oh, you know what? I was just thumbing through the catalog and I saw this dachshund warmer and I totally thought of you. Oh my gosh, you should totally see it. So that is, I would just say, just check in to say hi. That's my last tip. Don't always make it about the sale. Just say hi.
You're so awesome, Michelle.
Thank you.
So I just want to share, I have a lot of notes myself. I love how you started off with sharing, things that you struggle with, because it helps everybody realize, because I know every single person that's on live and anybody that's listening to watching the recording, there's something they struggle with. And when we struggle with it, sometimes it's hard to think that somebody else actually struggles with it as well. And when you feel like somebody else can relate, it's easier to be able to feel like, okay, well, maybe I can do more than what I'm giving myself credit for, or even trying to get to do, because I think that is going to stop me from having a result. And you sharing something so personal with things that you struggle with daily, which, like you said, on the outside, on Facebook or whatever, or when you're training, you know, your team, or when you're training at, you know, all these big events that you've done, people would think that there's nothing that you struggle with, that just you walk around on rainbows and bounce off stars on ponies all day, and that's why your business is what it is. It's just you don't let your things that you struggle with define you and hold you back from pushing through each day. And that's probably the biggest thing that I would want people to really, really gather from this. All these tips are like priceless. I will say you made me realize while you were talking that I always used to say, why don't I struggle with the I'm bothering people? Like, I've never had that hang up. And I realized when you were sharing, it's because I don't own the outcome either. I just want to know that I did my part. Like, that's all I need to know, is that as long as I did what I'm supposed to do, you know, I could check that off, or whatever you need to do on a physical standpoint with a physical check or mental check, whatever, because that's really all we can do. And I know that's harder for some people, but you made me realize why I don't struggle with that. So I appreciate you sharing with that, because I was like, oh, I guess I don't own the outcome. You know, I've never thought about it that way. I'm like, I did 50 texts today or 50 phone calls or whatever, and I move right along. And I realized that I get less of a response than you do. Just, you said like 1 in every 10. I'm like, I don't get that good of a result. But I mean, if I would have sat there and analyzed, well, darn, she gets 1 out of 10, man, I suck or something. Like, to me, it's like, that's just my situation, and I just keep moving on. So, and I love your call to action, because it made me think, do I do a call to action? Do I leave it with a question, you know? And that's something I can intentionally make sure I do when I follow up next time. So I appreciate that you added that. Okay. Anybody's comments, questions, please go ahead and mute yourself. So you, Michelle, your questions or comments.
Oh, that means everything was really thorough. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Sydney.
So do you go to your contact list to find out how many people check your newsletter? I didn't realize you could do that.
I do that, yes. If you go into, not your contact list, what you do is you go into your newsletter, the communications tab, and click on newsletter, and then you will see, you can actually see who opens your newsletter, number one, and it will say unique opens. Okay. And you can also see who has actually clicked on a link, and it says unique clicks. Okay. So one of the things that I do is when I've noticed that they've clicked on something, I usually, here's the interesting thing. Usually when I notice that they've clicked on something, I followed up with them maybe the week before, and then I see that they've checked in on our newsletter. Okay, so they're getting like double follow-up from me, basically. But what I do is if I see that they clicked on something, I do message them, and I don't say, hey, I saw that you clicked on this link on my newsletter. What I do is I'll reach back out to them, and I'll say, hey, I know that I just checked in with you last month or last week or whatever. We just had like the new Disney stuff. A lot of the people are clicking on the Disney stuff. So I will reach back out to them, and I'll say, if I saw that they clicked on that, I'll say, now, I don't know if you realize this, and I forgot to tell you the last time I checked in, but we just got a whole bunch of new Disney products, you know, and of course they already know that because they checked the Disney link. But it makes them like, oh, this is creepy, kind of like Facebook, like, you know how you're researching on Facebook and then all of a sudden you see ads. So I'm that creepy person. They're like, oh my gosh, she must know that I'm like, you know, they don't know that. But I use that as a tool to check back in with them.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Do you personalize yours too?
I do.
Yeah, I started doing that, and I've had a couple people email me back, and it's just like, oh, that works.
Totally. And you know what I also do in my newsletter is I'll, like, if I'm going to have an open house or if I'm going to have something like that, I'll put that in my newsletter as well. And the specials, I'll add that as well. Melissa, did you have a question?
I do. Sorry, I'm driving at the same time.
That's okay.
Not really a question as much as a comment. It just, I mean, you know, we've talked about so many times my struggle with follow-up. Like,
Yeah.
we've talked about it so many, and I feel like every time you talk about it, I'm like, oh, I never thought of it like that too. So I just think you're great and amazing, and I wanted to let you know. But the idea of looking at what people buy and then messaging them to say, hey, did you realize we have these products in the same scent too? Like, never occurred to me, because I do have those people that buy tons of the same scent, but it's all in bars.
Right.
So the idea too, do you message them, and instead of saying, hey, hope everything's okay, also saying, you know, just so you know, we've got this in laundry and we've got it in body stuff and everything too, just makes a lot of sense. So, oh, my phone's falling. There. It just makes a lot of sense. So I just really liked it.
Oh, good. I'm so happy.
I wanted to second that. That's another thing that I can admit I'm not good at. Like, when somebody places an order, I don't look if, like, oh, I should tell them that they have this, this, and this. Like, there's so much, like, sales that I miss out on because I don't do that. And I maybe when you say that, I'm like, oh yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. So thank you, Melissa, for saying that, because it made me realize, like, yeah, I need to step my game up on that area.
It's just a little way of upselling without actually upselling, right? Like, you're not upselling to the 6-pack, not upselling to that. All you're saying is, hey, you know what? Have you tried it in this? Because it's kind of really fantastic. Susan, did you have a question? I saw that you unmuted yourself.
I do. I'm actually in there now because I actually asked you that question. I messaged it on there. So I'm in my communications tab now to try to see who's looking at my, I see where it says statistic count and my emails delivered, and then statistics percentage is 100, but how do I see who actually clicked on the website?
It says unique clicks and unique opens. And then those are all, if you click on it, it'll actually go into it. Each one of those things are links.
I'm not seeing that though. And I'm on my laptop computer. The only thing I see is statistic name, statistic count, statistic percentage. Am I not clicking the right place?
Did you click in your newsletter, into your newsletter?
No. Here it is. Should I click into the newsletter?
Yes. Click into the newsletter. Click the newsletter bar, and then it's going to take you to newsletter.
I see it. Unique opens.
Yes.
Wow, my statistics suck. Only 14%.
No, that's not bad. Okay. Just so you know, that number is not a bad number. What you're looking at is you're looking at the number of people that actually click on it. And you know what, honestly, if I have, like, right now I have 7 people that have clicked on it. And for me, that's a win, because that's 7 people that have clicked on my newsletter that I didn't have to, they did it organically. So that's what I look at.
Yeah, so that's not bad then, I guess.
No, it's not bad at all. If they're clicking on it, that's good. If you had like 0 unique clicks, then maybe that's a different situation.
Okay. And then what did you say? How do you find out what they looked at?
If you click on where it says unique clicks, it'll tell you what link they clicked on.
Okay, I only see total clicks, not unique clicks. Hold on. Maybe that's back on this page. I just don't want to get off here until I know I'm in the right place, because this is something, as you know, I mean, because you and I have talked in the past, of unique clicks, you said. So there is no unique clicks. Okay,
then nobody has clicked on any link. If you look at unique open, that's who's opened it. But if nobody's clicked on any link, then nobody's clicked on it. So they see those stats.
Okay, perfect. Okay, honey, thank you.
You're so welcome.
See you in July.
Okay, yay.
Michelle, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of things do you personalize your newsletter with? Because I've been playing over here with my work email, and there's all these templates. I don't know if I get it on my regular Gmail, but
All I do when I personalize it is I change the language a little bit because I feel like the Scentsy newsletter is a little businessy, and I don't communicate with my customers or my friends in business language. So I kind of change that. And then if I'm going to have some sort of an open house or some sort of a party, I'll put that. When I'm having a customer appreciation event, I'll put that. If I'm having if I'm running some sort of a personal special or a hostess special because I need parties, then I'll put a hostess special because this is one-on-one communication. So you can put whatever you want in it. So when I'm yeah, yeah, you can put whatever you want in it. So if you're running a personal special that month, then you can absolutely put it in your newsletter. Like the 10 bucks, put that in your newsletter because it's one-on-one communication.
Cool.
Yep. And yeah, and then also, I'm sorry, Jess. I know that you have the other call.
Yeah, I gotta jump on. I'll just mute myself and I'll jump on.
So okay. So back to that, Michelle. I know you have that other call too, but so when you're doing that, where's my brain going? Okay, if I'm having an open house or something that month for myself, and somebody that has opened my email, that I will follow up with them about that, because I've seen they've had the invite, and then that's who I will also personally invite them that way. And it kind of saves me a little bit of time because I don't have to invite my entire customer list. I mean, I do sometimes, but you know what I'm saying? Like I will double.
Yeah, right.
So, but yeah, you can put your newsletter for whatever you want.
Okay, I hate to end this. I can't get on my other call till I end this. I love you guys. Michelle, thank you so much. I'm so sad.
You're so welcome.
Rush you guys off. I shouldn't have done it
bye.
back to back.
Michelle, message me your question.
Okay. Thank you, Michelle, for
okay.
being so
bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.